I'm Sienna Cross, 29, and tonight I'm sitting alone in my loft in San Francisco, a cup of lukewarm tea in hand, the Golden Gate Bridge casting its soft orange glow through the glass windows. It's quiet here, save for the hum of the city below. 7 months have passed since I packed 2 suitcases, left Ohio behind, and vanished without a word. I didn't leave a note. No goodbye. And no one seemed to notice. Not my mother. Not my father. Not even Ethan, my older brother, the golden child. That is, until last week. His fiancée's family suddenly wanted a formal dinner, a full family introduction. That's when I got the call. The first in months. As if my presence now mattered. As if I hadn't been invisible for most of my life. They didn't want me, not really. They wanted the image, the supportive little sister, well-dressed, polite, smiling for pictures beside her brother. It was almost laughable how suddenly they needed me to complete their picture-perfect lie. And part of me? I wish I could say I felt nothing, but that would be too easy. If you're still listening, we want to sincerely thank you for spending your time with us. Truly means a lot. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and let's see how far this message has reached. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I highly recommend doing it now so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. These aren't just ordinary stories, they're filled with meaningful life lessons that can inspire, teach, and stay with you long after the video ends. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. Packing up and moving on. The day before I left Ohio for good, my apartment looked like a storm had rolled through, boxes half-packed, tape strewn across the floor, suitcases gaping open like unanswered questions. The air was thick with dust and something else, something harder to name. Relief? Sadness? Maybe both. Mia and Lucas had shown up early, ready to help, though I knew neither of them fully believed I was really doing it. Not until the very last moment. Mia grunted as she dragged a heavy box to the door, strands of hair sticking to her damp forehead. "Sienna, these journals weigh a freaking ton. Are you sure you need every single one of them?" I smiled without looking up, pressing down a cardboard flap before sealing it shut with a long stretch of tape. "Most of them are going to that used bookstore near campus. I'm just keeping a few." She rolled her eyes, but her voice was soft. "You always say that and end up keeping them all." Lucas emerged from the kitchen, drying his hands on a towel, his brows furrowed in that way he always did when he was concerned but trying to sound casual. "Okay, but seriously, are you really not telling your parents you're moving across the country?" I let out a sharp, hollow laugh. It wasn't the kind of laugh that lightened the air. It was the kind that echoed. They didn't even know I moved out of my last apartment 2 years ago. Why would I bother telling them now? He looked at Mia, then back at me. Still, it's a big deal. Mia perched on a bar stool, her legs dangling. "This is huge, Sienna. San Francisco isn't exactly next door. Are you sure you're ready to just disappear?" I slid down along the wall until I was sitting on the hardwood, knees up, arms wrapped around them. The floor was cool, grounding. "I'm not disappearing," I said, staring at the boxes stacked like miniature skyscrapers around me. "I'm just leaving a place that never saw me in the first place." They didn't have a response. Not because they disagreed, but because they knew I wasn't exaggerating. Growing up unseen. My childhood was a quiet kind of loneliness, the kind that doesn't scream but hums in the background, so consistent you forget it shouldn't be there. Ethan, my older brother by 3 years, was the sun around which our family orbited. He had that effortless charm, the kind that made adults light up and teachers give second chances. He was a natural on the basketball court, confident at family gatherings, and always knew the right thing to say. I was none of those things. I was smart. I read too much. I asked too many questions. I noticed things. 10, I built a basic mobile app, nothing fancy, but it won first prize at a regional coding competition. My teacher was so proud she called my parents directly. I remember standing at the dinner table that night, my certificate trembling slightly in my hands as I waited to share the news. Mom looked up for half a second. "That's nice, sweetie," she said before turning to Dad. "Ethan said Coach might start him next Friday." That was it. No hug. No, "I'm proud of you." Just a pat on the head, like I was a pet that had done something vaguely amusing. It didn't get better with time, it just got quieter. In high school, I made honor roll every semester. Trade as. Perfect attendance. I won a scholarship essay contest and got my photo in the local paper. I clipped it and left it on the fridge with a magnet just to see how long it would stay. Disappeared within 2 days, replaced with a flyer for Ethan's basketball fundraiser. When he got accepted into a private law school with only a partial scholarship, you would have thought he cured cancer. Mom planned a barbecue that turned into a full-on neighborhood party. Dad bought a brand new smoker just for the occasion. Neighbors showed up with gifts. There were speeches. Toasts. When I turned 18, they sat me down at the kitchen table. "We've spent most of our college savings on Ethan," Dad said, his voice even. "You'll have to find your own way." No apology. Just logistics. So I did. I applied to a dozen schools with scholarships. Got into one with a full ride for data science. I took 2 part-time jobs, paid rent with roommates I barely knew, and worked through most weekends while juggling labs and final projects. I stopped going home. The silence didn't feel like punishment, it felt like home had never really been there for me in the first place. Holidays came and went. Sometimes I'd get a "Happy Thanksgiving" text from Mom. Never a call. Never an invite. When I graduated, there were no balloons, no cards, no dinner reservations. My boss at the internship I'd kept all through senior year bought me a slice of cake and said, "You're going to do great things." That meant more than anything my parents ever said. After graduation, I landed a remote job with a startup in San Francisco. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. I squirreled away money, skipping vacations, clipping coupons like my life depended on it. All the while, I watched from afar as Mom plastered Facebook with Ethan's achievements. So proud of our future lawyer. Wedding plans underway. My heart is full. I wasn't invited to his engagement party. That didn't hurt as much as I expected. Mostly, it confirmed what I'd always known. I didn't belong in their version of family. So when the job offered to relocate me to San Francisco full-time, I didn't hesitate. I didn't tell anyone, didn't call, didn't send a goodbye letter. I packed what I could, sold the rest, and said goodbye to the life that never made room for me. And still, it wasn't until Ethan's fiancée's parents demanded a formal dinner with the whole family that my name suddenly surfaced. Not because they missed me, because they needed me to complete the picture. They wanted the illusion of closeness, a united front, happy smiles, raised glasses, maybe even a childhood story or two. I could already hear Mom rehearsing the lies. "Sienna's doing so well out west, we're just so proud." Funny. In all these years, she never once asked me what I wanted. But suddenly I mattered because someone else was watching. And that, more than anything, made it easy to walk away. A new life in San Francisco. Then came the offer that quietly, powerfully changed everything. A data scientist position at one of the top A firms in San Francisco. Landed in my inbox late one Wednesday, disguised as just another recruiter message. But the moment I opened it, I knew this was different. The salary was triple what I was making. The project? Pure gold, cutting-edge predictive algorithms designed to model consumer behavior on a global scale. It was the kind of job people spent years chasing. I didn't hesitate. I negotiated a signing bonus, did all the paperwork myself, found a sleek loft with a distant view of the Golden Gate Bridge, and booked the movers. I didn't ask for anyone's advice. I didn't need permission. For once in my life, it was just me, and that was more than enough. The night before I left Ohio, the apartment was stripped bare, a hollow shell of the years I'd fought for every inch of independence. Mia and Lucas came over with takeout sushi and a bottle of cheap champagne. We sat on the hardwood floor, legs crossed around mismatched plates and laughter that didn't hide the emotion beneath. "You're a badass, Sienna," Mia said, raising her chopsticks like a toast. "All this on your own. No family backing, no connections. Just hustle." I looked at her, then at Lucas, who nodded in agreement, quiet but present. I smiled, letting the weight of it sit honestly on my shoulders. "I'm proud of myself," I said. The words felt new in my mouth, unfamiliar but real. The only person in my family who knew I was leaving was my grandmother, Eleanor. She was 78, but her voice still crackled with clarity and force every time she called. She was the only one who ever made space for my voice. The only one who saw me, not through the lens of what I wasn't, but for everything I could be. She helped me search for scholarships when I was 17, staying up late with me over the phone to review essays. She called after every semester to ask how classes were going. She mailed me handwritten letters when I didn't have enough for groceries. Every time I shared a little win, an award, a promotion, she'd say the same thing. "You've always been the fire, darling. Everyone else just forgot to look." When I told her I was leaving for San Francisco, she didn't ask why. She didn't ask if I was sure. "You're going to light up California," she said simply. "It's about time the world saw what I've always seen." And for once, I believed her. Thriving, then the call. 7 months later, I was thriving. That word, thriving, had always sounded suspiciously like something you say when you're faking it. But this time it was true. My loft had become my sanctuary. Clean white walls, open space, bold canvases leaning against corners still smelling faintly of fresh paint. My mornings started with coffee by the window, watching the bridge gleam through the fog, sunlight glinting off the bay like it was blessing the day ahead. Work was demanding but exhilarating. My team respected me, trusted me. Our algorithms were getting attention from industry leaders. My boss had called one of my predictive models game-changing in front of the whole division. That night, I walked home smiling so hard I couldn't stop. I'd started painting again, something I hadn't done since college. My weekends were spent exploring the coast, hiking trails that clung to cliffs, the ocean crashing below, salt in the air, wind in my hair. Sometimes I brought a small sketch pad, jotting colors I'd mix later in the studio corner of my loft. I even started going to open houses, not because I was ready to buy, but because dreaming felt safe now. For the first time in years, I was building a life that belonged to me entirely. Then my phone rang. It was a number I hadn't seen in months, Dad, Richard Cross. I stared at the screen for a second, thumb hovering. Then I picked up, curiosity winning out. "Sienna," he said, voice clipped and cold. "You need to come home next weekend. Ethan's fiancée's parents are flying in. They want to meet the whole family before the wedding. It's important." I blinked, stunned for a second. Then I laughed. Not a nervous laugh, but full and loud, borderline hysterical. "I'm not coming." There was a pause. "Then what?" I could hear the confusion turning to anger in his voice, the old edge that used to silence me when I was little. "I said I'm not coming," I repeated, calm now. "I moved to San Francisco 7 months ago. You didn't even notice." Silence on the other end. And then the explosion. "You moved without telling us? How dare you? Where are you living? What's your address?" I laughed again, more bitter this time. "Do you even remember my last address, Dad? The one I lived in for 3 years before this? Do you know anything about my life at all?" He didn't answer. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. I hung up. The next few hours were a flood. First it was Mom, Linda, texting about how this dinner is important to Ethan. Then Ethan himself trying to guilt me. "Just show up," he wrote. "It's not a big ask." as if I hadn't already given everything I had for years and gotten nothing in return. Then came the extended family, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, suddenly texting me sweet nothings about family coming together and letting go of the past. I could practically smell the manipulation through the screen. Then Dad called again, angrier this time. "You've made your point, but if you don't show up, don't expect to be part of this family anymore. Don't expect a place in the will." That made me pause, but only for a second. I texted back once, clean and final. "I earn more than you, Mom, and Ethan combined. Keep your money." Then I blocked them all. The wedding and the fallout. I didn't go to the dinner. I didn't buy a dress, didn't check flights, didn't even mark the date on my calendar. When Ethan's wedding day arrived, I stayed right where I was in my sunlit loft, coffee in hand, watching fog roll in over the bay. My phone stayed quiet. I'd blocked every number that mattered from that side of my life, and not once did I feel regret. The next day, Eleanor called. She never needed to ask if I wanted to talk, she just knew. Her voice was warm as always, laced with a kind of dry amusement that made me sit up straighter. "Well," she began, "that wedding was a mess, sweetheart." I laughed. "Oh, your parents told everyone you were on a work trip," she said, drawing out the words like they tasted bitter. But the bride's parents weren't buying it. Apparently they'd done some research, dug around a bit, talked to people, and they found out how you've been treated all these years. I was quiet for a moment, letting the words settle. "They did. They confronted your mom and dad. Right there. Said they were concerned. Asked if Ethan came from the kind of family they wanted their daughter marrying into." I didn't mean to smile, but I did. A slow, sharp thing. "Well," I said, "that sounds like a them problem." Eleanor chuckled. "Exactly. You don't owe them anything. You've built something real, Sienna. Don't let them pull you back into their small world." Later that evening, she sent me a few of the wedding photos she'd managed to get her hands on. Mom and Dad stood stiffly in formal wear, their smiles too wide, too plastic. Ethan looked exhausted, his eyes unfocused, his posture tense. The bride's parents, on the other hand, were ice cold, lips tight, arms folded, bodies slightly angled away from the chaos. It was everything I needed. Not revenge, not closure, just proof that I hadn't imagined it. That what I left behind was never home. That by walking away, I hadn't burned a bridge, I'd stepped off one that was already collapsing. My life, my rules. 1 year after moving to San Francisco, I bought my dream home in Marin County. Some modern 2-story house tucked into a quiet hill, with wide windows that catch the light and a rooftop deck where I watch the stars most nights. There's a garden in the back that I'm slowly learning to tend, pulling weeds on Saturday mornings with dirt under my fingernails and music humming through my earbuds. Feels like peace. I adopted a golden retriever named Luna, and she runs beside me every morning along the trails near the cliffs. She's loyal, gentle, and intuitive in ways that make silence feel full. Some days we end our jogs sitting on the overlook, breathing in the sea air like it's a prayer. Work somehow only got better. I was promoted to lead a team developing AI for sustainable energy systems, work that feels meaningful, urgent, alive. My boss pulled me aside after a presentation once, looked me in the eye and said, "You're one of the best I've ever seen." I didn't deflect or shrink. I nodded, because she was right. When I got a raise that finally made the number in my bank account look like all those years of struggle were worth something, I booked a solo trip to Iceland. I spent 5 days chasing the northern lights, wrapped in thermal gear, hiking through black sand valleys and frozen waterfalls. On the last night, I stood alone under a sky rippling green and violet, tears slipping down my cheeks, not from sadness but from awe. From knowing I'd built a life where magic was possible. I sent Eleanor photos. She called right away, voice gleaming with joy. "You're living your best life, sweetheart." And I was. Back in Ohio, the fallout from the wedding didn't end. My family tried everything. First came the new numbers, texts from area codes I didn't recognize, little guilt-laced messages. "We miss you. Come home." Then emails filled with nostalgia, pretending like we'd all just grown apart instead of addressing years of erasure. Then, eventually, a letter from Dad. A thick white envelope with my name in his stiff handwriting. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Every message had the same undertone. Come fix this. Come make us look whole again. Come give us the version of you we ignored until it suited us to care. Word got back to me through Eleanor, through mutual friends I hadn't cut off, that Ethan's marriage was rocky. That the bride's parents never really warmed back up. That questions kept circling about that sister who didn't show. And somehow that became my fault too. But I saw it clearly. They didn't miss me. They missed what I represented. The role I could have played. The image they'd curated cracked without me. And I didn't owe them my silence, my presence, or my forgiveness. At a work dinner a few months later, a coworker asked about my family, just casual small talk over wine and shared plates. "Any siblings?" "No," I said, as easily as breathing. "Only child." She looked a little surprised. "And your parents?" I smiled. "We're not in touch." Her face softened. "I'm sorry." But I wasn't. Not even a little. "It's the best choice I ever made," I said simply. And it was. Looking back, moving forward. The evening sun slips behind the Pacific, casting the sky in bands of gold and rose as I stand on my rooftop deck, Luna stretched out beside me, her head resting on my bare feet. The ocean below is calm, endless quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty but earned. For the first time in my life, I don't feel like I'm waiting to be seen. This moment, this view, this dog, this life is mine. Not borrowed. Not conditional. Not a performance for someone else's approval. Just mine. I'm sketching plans for an art studio in the extra room off the garden, envisioning soft light, open space, paint splatters on hardwood. It's the kind of indulgence I never thought I could afford, not in money, but in permission. Now it feels like the most natural next step. I'm also looking into a master's in machine learning, not for a promotion or a raise, not to prove anything, but because I want to. Because I'm curious. Because I can. Eleanor still calls once a week without fail. She asks about my hikes, my projects, what color I'm painting the guest bathroom. She remembers Luna's birthday. She knows the name of my coworker who just had a baby. She listens, really listens, and she never forgets the details. That's love. That's family. She's all the family I need. My parents' neglect shaped me, there's no denying that. Carved deep lines into my understanding of worth and silence, of effort and invisibility. But it also did something else, something I see clearly now. Forced me to become my own advocate. To build resilience in the dark. To learn how to clap for myself when no one else was watching. I used to think I was broken because they never chose me. Now I understand I was never theirs to choose. I was always mine. I built this life from nothing. From late nights working 3 jobs. From applying to scholarships in the library while others went to parties. From teaching myself to cook in tiny kitchens, learning how to be alone without being lonely. From walking away from people who only remembered me when it suited them. I built this career, this home, this peace, and every brick in it is solid. Hard-earned. Mine. And I wouldn't change a thing. Family isn't blood. It never has been. It's not who shares your DNA or shows up for pictures. It's the people who see you, truly see you, without asking you to be smaller, quieter, easier. It's the ones who cheer your wins without resentment, who sit with you through silence, who know your address because they care enough to ask. I have those people now. Friends who show up with wine when I've had a rough week. Coworkers who respect me without conditions. A dog who waits for me at the door every single day like I'm the best thing that ever happened. And Eleanor, always Eleanor, my lighthouse, steady and bright. This life is mine, and it's more than enough. And as I look out over the edge of my rooftop, the wind brushing my skin, I know I'm not looking back anymore. I'm moving forward, always forward. If you followed my journey, from being the invisible daughter in a family that never saw me to building a life I love in San Francisco, you know it wasn't easy. I didn't grow into this version of myself overnight. It took heartbreak, silence, therapy, and choosing myself again and again. But today, I want to share 5 lessons I learned the hard way, lessons that helped me break free, heal, and thrive. Maybe you're at a crossroads in your own life. Maybe your pain looks different than mine. Still, I hope these truths land where you need them most. 1. You define your worth, no one else. For years, I let my family decide how valuable I was. They ignored my achievements, minimized my feelings, and made me feel like a placeholder in my own story. The turning point was realizing their version of me wasn't real. It was just convenient for them. How to apply it? Every time you start questioning your worth because someone overlooked or rejected you, pause. Ask, do I believe that about myself, or is that their projection? Start defining your value by what you know to be true, not by the lens of people who benefit from keeping you small. 2. Distance isn't cruelty, it's clarity. When I stopped engaging with my parents, people called it extreme. But the truth gave me space to breathe, to hear my own voice, to think. Sometimes you have to step away from the noise to understand how loud it really was. How to apply it? If someone consistently brings confusion, guilt, or chaos into your life, it's okay to take a step back. Physical or emotional distance isn't about punishment, it's about protecting your peace. You don't owe constant access to people who constantly hurt you. 3. Love isn't proven through loyalty, it's proven through care. Just because someone is family doesn't mean they're loving. True love is shown in actions. Who checks in, who shows up, who roots for your happiness even when it doesn't benefit them. How to apply it? Pay attention to who energizes you versus who drains you. Stop chasing validation from people who don't show genuine care. Invest your emotional energy in the relationships where love is mutual, not performative. For your story is yours to rewrite. For a long time, I thought I was just the overlooked daughter, the background character. But after moving away, building my career, and choosing who I let into my life, I realized I'm the author now. My past shaped me, yes, but it doesn't have to define me. How to apply it? Whatever narrative you've inherited, not good enough, too much, the failure, you have the power to change it. Start today. Even small actions, learning a new skill, applying for that job, ending a toxic friendship can begin a new chapter. 5. Family is chosen. Eleanor, my former therapist turned close friend, became the most constant and caring presence in my life. She remembered my birthdays, celebrated my wins, and offered truth when I needed it most. None of it was tied to blood. How to apply it? Look around. Who makes you feel seen? Who respects your boundaries? Who laughs with you? Who listens without fixing? That's your family. Choose them. Nurture those bonds. You don't need DNA to feel at home. Today, I live on the edge of the Pacific Ocean with my dog Luna, a house I bought myself, and a peace I never knew growing up. My parents still try to reach me, still try to pull me into a version of the past I no longer belong to. But I've outgrown that chapter. And if you're reading this, maybe you're ready to outgrow something too. You are not selfish for protecting your joy. You are not cruel for choosing peace. You are not broken because your family didn't know how to love you. You are just beginning. If this resonated with you, take a moment to like, share, or subscribe. Someone else out there might need these words today just as much as you did. You've got this. And you're not alone anymore.